People used to treat me like I was nothing, a shadow in the hallways of Hamilton High, merely an afterthought. I was Maya, the new black student, and my first day felt like stepping onto a battlefield, shrouded in anxiety and anticipation. That morning, I walked through the entrance, heart racing, bracing myself against whispers and judgment. But what they didn't know was that beneath my reserved exterior lay the heart of a fighter, a state boxing champion, ready to turn the tables on those who underestimated me. As lunch approached, I encountered Brad and his crew, the self-proclaimed kings of the school. With his all-too-familiar sneer, Brad zeroed in on me, tossing slurs that cut just as deep as any punch. At first, I felt the sting, the familiar weight of humiliation, as his friends laughed and jeered. But rather than retaliating with fists, I drew from my boxing training, breathing, calculating, and seeking the right moment to strike back. Only this time, it wouldn't involve my fists. The tipping point came when Brad shoved my books to the ground, reveling in his small triumph. Instead of erupting, I stood tall, and with every ounce of calm I could muster, I faced him, my body language speaking volumes. I felt his bravado waver. Perhaps he felt the air shift, tasting fear where he once found amusement. Respect isn't given because of size or status, Brad. It's earned, I said, my voice steady, my resolve unyielding. In that moment, I wasn't just defending myself, I was sparking a change. As whispers of support surrounded me, I realized my power and how it could reshape our school's culture. Brad's laughter faded, replaced by a nervous glance exchanged with his friends. I won't say I didn't resent the struggles that led me here, but I was beginning to see them as my greatest strength. The path ahead was clear. Strength rooted in compassion could pave the way to redemption, even for those who'd once tried to bring me down. "Look who it is! The new girl, just in time for lunch!" Brad sneered, his crowd of followers snickering behind him. Maya's heart raced, her grip tightening around her lunch tray. She could feel the familiar heat creeping up her neck. "Can't wait to see you in the ring," he continued, stepping closer. A cruel grin plastered across his face. "Oh wait, this isn't boxing. It's Hamilton High. Your kind doesn't belong here." "Back off, Brad," she replied, trying to steady her voice. She remembered the sparring drills, the countless hours in the gym. "You have no idea who I am." "Oh, I have a pretty good idea," he shot back, kicking her notebook across the hallway. "Loser." Mahoma's insides churned, but she held her ground, her mind racing through her training. No fists, just poise. "You think you're tough? I can show you tough without even touching you." Laughter erupted from the crowd, but a flicker of doubt crossed Brad's face. "What? You think you can scare me with your words? You think you're special?" "Maybe not special," she replied, fists clenched at her sides, "but definitely not someone to mess with." "And what are you going to do about it?" he taunted, stepping even closer. Maya straightened her back, her eyes sharp. "Think about respect, Brad. I know how to fight with my fists, but I'd rather teach you with my words." Air thickened, Brad's bravado faltering as curiosity mixed with fear. "You're just a girl," he stammered, hesitation creeping into his voice. "Not just a girl, a fighter." Maya held his gaze, the tension shifting as the crowd began to murmur, intrigued. "Tia, you'll regret this," he whispered, but the certainty had left his tone. Maybe, just maybe, she wouldn't need to fight to win. The hallways buzzed with adolescent energy, yet all Maya felt was the weight of judgment. Today was supposed to be a fresh start at Hamilton High, but she quickly became the target of Brad and his crew. "Look at her hair," he sneered, drawing laughter from his friends, their jeers echoing in her ears as she tried to ignore them. It was just another day, another taunt, another reminder of how different she was. As the hours passed, the mockery intensified. In class, they whispered about her behind their hands. During lunch, they crowded her table, shoving her lunch tray aside while making jokes that stung like fists. With every jab, Maya felt her resolve tightening, mixing anger with the familiar mantra of composure instilled by her boxing coach. Patience, she reminded herself. Control. Tame came the day Brad decided to escalate, physically knocking her books to the floor. The thud resonated like a gunshot in the silence that followed. Heart racing, Maya felt the familiar urge to retaliate, yet she held her ground. Anger surged through her. But she channeled it instead into stillness, shifting her stance. It wasn't about being a victim. Her eyes locked onto Brad, a mix of defiance and calm sweeping over her. Silence filled the space around them, shifting the energy. She wasn't the new girl anymore. "You want respect?" Maya's voice cut through the tension, low and steady. "It starts with you." Brad's bravado faltered, the laughter evaporating. A flicker of fear danced across his face. The tide was turning, and Maya felt the surge of power within her, a quiet strength poised on the brink of something transformative. Maya stood tall in the crowded hallway, her heart racing as the buzz of scorned laughter echoed around her. Brad's voice cut through the noise, sharp and taunting. "Hey, new girl, think you can take me in the ring?" His friend snickered, but Maya felt something shift inside her. Instead of curling inward, she squared her shoulders and took a deep breath. "I've fought tougher battles than this," she said quietly, but with a confidence that caught even her own attention. The laughter diminished, replaced by an uneasy silence that twisted in Brad's stomach. Days passed, marked by small victories. Each time Brad pushed, she didn't lash out. She didn't even flinch. Instead, she would respond with an unwavering gaze, her body language exuding the peace and power she cultivated in the ring. "You think you're tough?" she asked one day, her tone calm yet firm. "Try me when it counts." A ripple of respect spread among those who witnessed. Soon, students began to approach her, drawn to her courage. They whispered encouragement, some even standing beside her when Brad approached. "She's not afraid of you anymore," one girl remarked, and other students nodded in silent solidarity. With the pressure mounting, Maya felt empowered. The days of hiding were over. She chose to teach self-defense classes after school. She stood in front of a group, demonstrating a jab while Brad watched from the sidelines, his bravado reduced to uncertainty. "Respect starts here," she declared, gaining momentum with each word, each fist that flew in practice. In that moment, she realized she wasn't just reclaiming her space, she was redefining it for all who dared to stand strong against the tide. Maya stood at the center of the school courtyard, her heart pounding, not from fear, but from an anticipation that had been brewing since her first day. The sun shone brightly, illuminating the faces gathered around her, mostly her classmates who had witnessed the escalating torment from Brad and his entourage. They smirked, but an undercurrent of tension rippled through the air. "Tree, it's been fun watching you trip over yourself, new girl," Brad sneered, pushing past his jostling friends, who chuckled at his taunts. He tossed Maya's books carelessly to the ground. The laughter from the group was loud and mocking, but Maya felt a stillness within. She bent down to pick up her books, taking a deep breath. She remembered the weight of the gloves on her hands, the sound of the coach's voice echoing in her mind. "Control your power. Don't unleash it unless necessary." With a steady composure, she stood back up, her eyes locking onto Brad's. "You think this is funny?" she asked, her voice cool and unwavering. He raised an eyebrow, bemused. But something shifted in the way she held herself. The muscles in her arms subtly tensed, a silent promise of strength. Outraged laughter from the crowd began to die down. Brad's bravado faltered as he sensed her resolve. "You really think you can scare me?" he retorted, but the uncertainty flickered in his eyes. "Take," she replied, a hint of a smile on her lips. "But I suggest you think about respect." The crowd shifted, their allegiance moving towards her. Whispers of admiration rippled through the spectators. People began to draw closer, drawn not to violence but to Maya's quiet confidence. As Brad's facade crumbled under the weight of collective disapproval, embarrassment washed over him. The laughter that once filled the air transformed, echoing Maya's triumph, not in victory, but in the shift of power. In that moment, she was not just a boxer, she was a symbol of resilience. The school dynamic began to change, forging a new understanding that strength was not merely about fists, but about standing tall against adversity. As I look back on my time at Hamilton High, I realize just how much I've grown. Walking through those halls, I remember the taunts from Brad and his friends. My heart raced with anxiety, but I learned that true strength doesn't always come from throwing punches. It's finding the courage to stand tall, to confront fear with dignity, and to pave the way for change. When I finally faced Brad, it wasn't with fists, but with resolve. My journey wasn't about revenge, it was about respect and fostering understanding, not just for myself, but for others who felt out of place. The support that followed was a reminder that kindness can reshape a community. So I ask you, do you think I went too far? Would you have responded differently? Have you ever had someone treat you like that? I invite you to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. Let's explore the nuances of power, bias, and justice together. And remember, our stories have the power to inspire transformation.